Hi, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec Podcast, where I'll help you create teams worth leading, because life's too short to lead mediocre teams. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, advisor and consultant to tech execs worldwide, just like yourself, and our subject today is affordances. Before I get to that, let me tell you that I'm holding a free live stream very close, and it's about the new non-negotiables of tech leadership in 2026. It's free. It's gonna be recorded so you can check it if you sign up. The link and all the details are in the show notes. Affordances are about those things that give you a hint that an action is possible, that something is doable. So in UX, affordances are things like the buttons, of course, but for example, if you have an iPhone, there's this bar at the bottom that tells you that you can swipe it up, right? That sort of stuff, that's an affordance. When it's there, you know it's there, and when things are not there, you sort of have to work harder to discover them. Maybe it's on purpose because you don't want an action to be easily accessible, maybe it's not. I realize as someone who is not a native English speaker, I first learned the word when it came to its context in UI, and then I learned that it's something that you actually use in general. Like when you have like the door here, there's a handle. The handle is an affordance that tells me I can open the door like this. These are all affordances also in real life. And as you can see, things have changed again around me because we just got a bunch of our stuff. The containers are here, yay. And I'm still, even though we're almost 2 months here in this apartment in Rome, I'm still learning things about the apartment. So for example, there are a bunch of cabinets here with mirrors on them that have this small affordance, like a small tiny tab that at the beginning, like the first couple of weeks, we didn't even notice it was there. But then we're like, oh, why is this thing there? It's a small affordance. And when I pulled on it, I realized, oh, these are actually cabinets, not just mirrors on the wall. It's actually a small cabinet that I can open and put things in it. That's a nice affordance. However, there's something that we only realized almost now, again, almost 2 months later, and that is that there's another mirror here that's actually a sliding mirror, and behind it there's yet another cabinet that we never even knew existed. And because this one had no affordance, we only found out by mistake because we're cleaning the mirror, and then we noticed that things jiggled. Like, why isn't this fixed? We moved it and realized that it's actually a sliding door. These sorts of things are exactly what happens when we don't think about the affordances around us. There's no affordance on that mirror, therefore I only happened to realize late that it was even possible to use it. Now, all this to say that we can create affordances also in our organizations. When you don't think consciously, deliberately about how you're going to allow people to do things, how you're going to make it visible, knowable for them to recognize that something is possible, you're going to miss out on them doing some of these things that, as far as you're concerned, are okay. And the same probably applies to you yourself, because a lot of times when I talk to executives, something that I see a lot is that I have to give them the permission to do something, as if I even have any authority, right? But I told them it's perfectly fine for you to go and say that you want to be in that meeting. It's perfectly fine for you to speak up in those conversations, to ask questions, to tell your people when they're not doing things correctly, to ask for more budget, whatever the case is. When I hear about the things and I hear what's holding them back, a lot of times it's like, yeah, I don't know if I can, I don't know if I should, and if people expect me to do that, and I have to give them permission to do that. And I have to be an external person that's encouraging them to do the right thing, because a lot of times no one gave you the affordance to know you can do it, and sometimes you don't give your people affordances to let them know they can do things. So for example, if we're talking about how your organization looks like and how your managers are managing those under you, a lot of times they don't even know that, as far as you're concerned, you don't even want to know about some of the problems that they have. Maybe they keep coming to you with them and you help them solve them, or maybe you tell them how they can do it themselves and give them some guidances, and still they update you about things, they keep you in the loop, and you're not even concerned. You're like, yeah, whatever, I trust you, just do the right thing and bye. But they keep telling you, and you know why? because you didn't give them a specific affordance around, yeah, I don't need to know about those things. How those affordances look like, one of the ways that I know, which is relatively popular by a colleague of mine, Oren Ellenbogen, which is the manager readmes. You can create these readmes for yourself to say how you'd like to operate, how you usually prefer things to be done, your general guidelines that help others work with you. These are essentially containing lists of affordances about how to operate with you, how to collaborate, how you prefer to see things, and what you define possible for those around you. By doing that, and assuming people will actually go and read that, you will create these affordances that will allow people to maximize their potential because they will know what they can do. They don't have to come to you, they don't have to ask for questions, their common sense filter, which I have a very nice video about, won't tell them, yeah, that doesn't matter, just be quiet, or they already know that. Things will be better. So think where you can create these affordances, and also think if something is happening too much, if something is happening that you'd rather not happen, think whether you have affordances that you don't need to have. So for example, this was going to sound very trivial, but some of the companies I work with report having a lot of back and forth and chatter in specific Slack channels about something. And they would rather have people actually think about things and have one meeting, for example, something like that. And when I hear about that, I'm like, okay, so why do we have that Slack channel? Can you close it? Or can you define, in the topic, in the name, something, how we're going to communicate there? Either remove the affordance of having a Slack channel that people assume, okay, I should be using that to talk about things, or define how it should be used, creating a better affordance. When you have that in mind, you can do things all better. So, for example, if we have useless meetings, people are going to use those because, again, you're creating this affordance. I have this box of time, I'm going to be there, I'm going to do whatever the agenda says because I'm assuming that's the right thing to do. And vice versa. You can create a meeting especially as an affordance of something you want to see more, like feedbacks, like retros. So be very mindful and deliberate in the shaping and the design of your organization. It's a bit like UX. I don't know if anyone has ever talked about organizational experience, like OX. Now I'm thinking out loud here. But this is essentially what you need to be doing. You need to be thinking about what you want to see more of, what you want to be seeing less of, and creating affordances that match that so that your team can do the right thing and can get things done. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. As always, do check out my newsletter and check out my free live stream, The New Non-Negotiables of Tech Leadership in 2026. It's free. It's going to be recorded. So if you sign up, you're going to get the recording and some freebies. The details and everything are in the show notes as well. I'll see you here next week. Ciao.